don't know where this conversation is going, but that's what good radio is all about. I think so. It's also what good podcasts are about. You've got this vague outline of intent, and then you can see how much you can stay within the lines. But sometimes colouring outside out the guidelines make the best kind of pictures. Let me introduce my two accomplices in this folly. I'm now joined by Sally Brownbill and, welcome Sally.
Hello.
And Harriet Tarbuck, and the two of them are the co-hosts of the photography podcast called When Harri, with an I, Met Sally. Good evening to you as well, Harriet. Thanks for joining us, both of you.
Hi.
Before we talk about Harri meeting Sally and the podcast and the big Biennale that's in a couple of weeks' time in Ballarat, where you are some of the guests of honour. Tell me, Sally, you have got you had quite a close encounter with a dugong, I understand.
Yes.
Well, how close was it?
This is ridiculous that we're talking about this. Years ago, I was up in Port Douglas and we did a dive. You know, I was with a friend who was doing his PADI certificate.
Yep.
And the guy, we were down there and we were swimming with all of these great big fish. And the guy that took us down there told us that he had a dugong come swimming towards him, put his whole head in his mouth sucked all of his...
Did he have green hair or something? Why was he so attractive?
Sucked his goggles and his everything off.
Oh, my Lord.
You know,
it's like being
great when you're
attacked by a
diving
Dyson.
underneath. Yeah, so he wasn't hurt, but he was sort of had everything taken off. I think he had a little bit of graze, a little bit of gravel rash. And
we just talked them up about how beautiful they are, and now we just heard they've gone and assaulted the
him.
driver.
Didn't try to kill him. It
sounded like a big kiss.
Well, I don't think he's got any teeth, but it's got some tusks.
Yeah.
So no photos were taken, but...
No photos. We're just completely freaked out.
Harriet,
We drowned. Don't
while
worry
we were
about that.
playing Overkill, Harriet, you said that you know of a particular dugong photo, do you?
Yeah, there's a photographer called Jake Wilton who's an incredible wildlife photographer, and I have a vivid picture in my head of his beautiful image of two dugongs, a mother and a calf, and the serenity within the image. Just stunning, and this beautiful dappled light on them. It's just so beautiful.
Much more romantic than mine.
Yeah, your story. Somewhere in between is the truth, I think.
Don't be fooled by the truth, David.
But, I mean, you just categorised nature photography. There are so many different sets and subsets of photography. Maybe this is a good place to start. I'll start with you, Harriet. What's the range of photography that you guys cover in the podcast, or is there a slant that you look at within the podcast When Harri Met Sally?
We cover absolutely everything, David. In fact, we focus on making sure that we cover everything.
Right.
So we do a season, and in that season we have 12 episodes, and each episode we bring on a different photographer or someone working within the industry. And we make sure specifically that we have someone that might be working commercial, someone that might be working in documentary, someone that might be more art-based, someone that's an emerging photographer, someone that's really established, someone that might have been in the industry for 50 years. So we really make sure that we're getting all sides of the industry and hearing voices from, the breadth of what the photography industry is all about.
Have you managed to rope in Simon Schluter from The Age?
Not yet, but
We're coming for you.
I met him yesterday, actually.
Isn't it amazing?
Yes, I
Make
did.
sure he tells you his Mariah Carey story,
Okay.
Because this is it. Photographers often have great war stories too, I'm going to say, Sally.
Yeah. 100%.
And look, what happens in in Vegas actually is shared on When Harri Met Sally.
Yeah, we had one of our photographers this year talked about on the last season that we've just done, and he talked about as a young photographer walking into the studio, and they said, go and hand the girls some, a cup of tea. And it was the Page 3 girls. He was in London, and they were all in there completely nude. He dropped the tea, and he was off he went, went,
so
right,
you really are spilling the tea on this one.
No,
Sorry, I couldn't resist. And what's the format, Sally? So when you have these photographers from different fields of the profession, is there a list of questions that you'd like to explore? Is it about lessons learned or hacks or hints? I haven't been able to sample one of the episodes, but I have been reading the careers of both of you, and I know just how deeply immersed you are in the craft, but I'd like to know how the listener with Harri Met Sally, what are they looking, how are things shaped so that they can, is it story-based, is it trade-based, is it craft-based, how is it all put together?
We look at everybody quite individually, and I think the difference with our podcast is Harri and I, we're both really good friends. We're both as you said, very immersed in the industry, and we both love a chat. So people feel very comfortable within the podcast suite with us, and we know about their background and we know what they do, but it's not so much about how to take a picture. We go through a life's journey with them. So one of our people that we had this year was Sally McInerney, who is the daughter of Olive Cotton, and she took us on this entire journey of growing up as the daughter of a famous photographer, and that went in places that, you know, we didn't really expect it to go.
There, just the unexpected
and
corners,
also like Carly Earle, who is the editor of The Guardian, and she's also an acclaimed documentary photographer as well. So there was the two sides of the story. Each season we have a question that we ask everybody at the very end. So the first season's question is, why do you do what you do? And those questions come out in all sorts of different ways, you know, ways that you would expect, and other ways would go, wow, okay. And this season's question was, what does the future of photography look like to you? And we had a guy that was really heavily into AI, so his version was quite different to a commercial photographer who's sort of going, well, it's not looking great, you know. So we are very casual, we're very relaxed, we do our research really well, but we don't formalise it. And I think it comes from the fact that we both sat down to have a cup of coffee one day and sort of said, hey, we'd love to do a podcast, came up with the idea and said, actually, how do we do that? And we thought, well, let's make it and they will come.
It makes sense when you get to know Harriet and Sally that the name of the podcast is called When Harri, with an I, When Harri Met Sally. It's been going for 2 seasons. It's all about the craft of photography. You've just heard from Harriet there. It's right across the spectrum of whether it's documentary filmmaking, portrait shots, news shots, whether it's nature shots. There's all aspects of photography that are looked at, but really sounds like it's as much as a personal profile of each of the photographers, Harriet.
Yeah.
Then you've got, we have been very lucky here in the studio to meet some great photographers over the years, many of them still plying their trade here in Australia. There's music photographers, there's space photographers. I mean, what's on your wish list?
Oh goodness, we've got plans, that's for sure. So we've talked about actually running a season that is not necessarily the photographers themselves, but the people that say employ photographers. So agents or people that work in galleries or people that run news agencies. So what are you looking for in photographers? So that's really exciting for us. We're also looking at, because we have a focus on Australian photography, and Australian photographers, that's a real passion of both of ours. And so we're actually looking also at talking to Australian photographers living overseas and how it is working overseas and maybe working in different countries and how that might be different to working in Australia. So there are a couple of ideas, I guess, but,
great.
you know, the list is sort of endless. I mean, we could, you know, world domination, I think Sally has said.
Well, it sounds personal, but also sounds practical. That's what I like about the formula. We get to know someone, but they've also got some insights about how to kind of hustle.
Absolutely. And do you know what? We just love people as well, and we love people's stories. We're interested in, you know, being a photographer, it's so much more than just taking good pictures, right? It's about who you are, how you present yourself, how you communicate with people, what the message is that you're wanting to get across. And all the people that we have something quite unique and special. People like Michael Jallery Torres. He's an Indigenous photographer from Broome, and he has set up a group of photographers called the Black Eye. So
Black Lens.
I'm so sorry. The Black Lens. That was another. Yeah, I know. Sorry. So he was talking about all of this extraordinary work that they're doing up over in Western Australia.
Amazing.
What he's doing with photography, and I think that's the essence of who we are. We just love people's stories and the journey, and it's always a journey in photography.
4 to 9, David Astle with you. Just heard Sally Brown-Bill chatting away. Harriet Tarbuck also too. We are talking about the podcast that they've been looking after, co-hosting for the last couple of years. It's called When Harri Met Sally. And importantly, you can get to meet Harri and Sally, so to speak. That's coming up in Sunday week. That's August 24. That's at the Ballarat International Photo Biennale, Harriet.
It is.
Tell us, this is a pop-up, so this is like a live recording of a next episode?
Yeah, it is. It is. So We're doing a few
you'll be
things
right.
actually next weekend there.
Yeah.
So we're actually doing a panel discussion, which will also be recorded at an event called Refocus Retreat, which is actually on just before the Ballarat International Photo Biennale, and they're kind of partnering together. So that's happening on the Friday.
Right.
So that will be our very first sort of live recording.
Yep.
And that's in a bit of a safe environment. It's a women's retreat, and there'll be lots of female empowerment there. So we'll feel very protected.
Gentle crowd. But then you're going out to the great unwashed, are you?
Exactly.
Bracing ourselves.
And then the next day, on the Saturday, we're doing folio reviews at Ballarat. And so
fantastic.
Ballarat Biennale have put on this incredible morning where a whole lot of industry experts are getting together, and you can book in and have your work looked at by all sorts of different people within the industry. So we're a part of that, which is really exciting.
Well, we've already got a couple of submissions that might be part of the portfolio.
Of dugongs?
Are they dugongs?
No, they're not dugongs, but it is foreshore. It's a beautiful girl that's standing beside a lagoon. It's right. I'll show it to you later.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
And I'm also doing the very kind favour of looking up for if you'd like to know more about this event that we're talking about, it's all Ballarat Photo. That's with an F, ballaratphoto.org will take you to the website, and you'll see all the program, all the details, including you get a chance to meet Harri and Sally. That's Harriet Tarbuck and Sally Brownbill. So you've got two events, Sally.
Yes, and that's it. And then on the Sunday, the 24th,
Yep.
is the live interviews that we're going to be doing with participants and from the Biennale. So we've got Campbell Addy, who is there.
Headlining the Biennale.
He's headlining the Biennale.
Yep.
He's a British photographer. And we have
Ibi Najoya, who is Campbell Addy's stylist, and they work very collaboratively
Yeah.
together.
Penny Stevens,
Yeah.
who's an amazing Australian
I know.
documentary.
And
Okay.
I think Penny Stevens, doesn't she work for the Age as well?
Yes,
Yes, she does.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
she
great.
does.
She's great on portraits too, Penny.
She
Fabulous.
Really
is.
makes people relaxed.
Yes.
Talked to a bloke who's just finished he'd done a pub crawl all across about 5
Well, you'd be
years.
pretty relaxed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he would. Anyway, Penny Stevens was the best.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. So we're talking with Pen. We both know her well.
Yeah.
Then we've got
Lin Yuan Fong, who is a beautiful emerging artist who I know quite well. Sally's will be introduced to him shortly, and he's an incredible emerging artist, a young Vietnamese man that's just making beautiful work.
So
And-
if you have an interest in photography, as many of you do, because we all fancy ourselves as photographers, well, this is a chance to get to know the deeper craft of making beautiful images and hearing the stories, the journeys, as you say, Sally. It's all on the podcast. When Harri Met Sally, you can get the back episodes of that, 2 seasons to enjoy. But if you'd love to get along, see the whole thing happen live, see these portfolios and see this work, get to ballaratphoto.org. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having
so
us.
much.
It's news time.